All right, so we're going to do a deep dive into this story about what happens when a lawyer's loyalty to one hip hop like giant it could mean turning down like another huge case,
Oh, wow.
right? It's all about ASAP, Rocky Diddy, and Jay-Z, and I think this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking about like all the behind the scenes stuff in the music industry and, who's close with who and
Also,
how that like impacts, legal decisions and things.
yeah, and we've got all these articles, right?
Yeah.
ASAP Rocky's lawyer gets candid about Jay-Z Diddy.
Right.
We've got Diddy accused of forced labor, making employee engage in sex acts. Like, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
But this isn't just like, celebrity gossip. This is like really about, personal ties when those run up against some pretty serious legal stuff.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting here is like how these events are playing out in the public eye,
Right.
while other dynamics might be happening more behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind closed doors.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Let's rewind to A$AP Rocky's recent court case.
Okay.
So he was facing assault charges and a potential 24-year sentence.
Right. 24 years. That's not a small thing.
No.
Not at all.
It was high stakes, and his lawyer, Joe Tacopina, was able to get him a not guilty verdict.
It was a huge win. I mean, for A$AP Rocky and for Tacopina.
It's huge.
I mean, it put him on the map as like a top-tier legal mind for the music industry.
Totally. He became like a legal rock star, basically.
Absolutely.
But then what happened next is wild. So Diddy is facing some major legal issues himself.
He's been hit with some serious charges: sex trafficking, racketeering.
Oh, wow.
I mean, these are incredibly serious accusations.
Yeah.
To break it down really simply, sex trafficking involves exploiting someone for sexual acts.
Right.
And racketeering usually refers to running like an illegal enterprise.
Wow. Okay, so this is a legal tangle for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Diddy's trial's coming up on May 5th.
That's right.
But then things take another turn.
Another turn, exactly. So one of his attorneys actually stepped down.
Okay.
And just to add to the pressure, a new indictment was filed against him on March 6th.
Oh, wow.
It's what's called a superseding indictment, which basically means it replaces the earlier one and often includes additional charges or evidence.
Okay, so it's getting more complicated for Diddy.
Exactly.
You would think he would want Tacopina, fresh off that A$AP Rocky win.
That's what makes this story so fascinating. So Tacopina was reportedly approached to represent Diddy,
Okay.
but he declined.
He declined.
And the reason is that he is extremely close with Jay-Z and Roc Nation.
Okay.
And he even said he considers them family, especially Jay-Z himself, Desiree Perez, who runs Roc Nation, and Jay Brown.
So he's loyal to Jay-Z and his team.
Absolutely.
But how does that connect to Diddy?
Right.
Are they not on good terms or something?
Well, that's the piece of the puzzle that everyone is trying to figure out.
Okay.
So Tacopina's refusal to represent Diddy really hints at a possible rift between Jay-Z and Diddy. It suggests that maybe there might be some tension there.
Wow.
That runs deep enough for Tacopina to see it as a conflict of interest.
But I mean, we've seen them together at events.
Right.
They've collaborated on music. Like,
right.
You would think they'd be on good terms.
And that's precisely what makes this so intriguing, right? The public perception might be one thing.
Yeah.
But what's happening behind the scenes could be completely different.
Right, like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
Okay. So much to think about here.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's like we're getting a little peek behind the curtain.
Right.
Into like the real like dynamics of the music industry.
Exactly. And, Tacopina even said that like, this change in their relationship happened a long time ago.
Wow.
Despite them being seen together publicly over the years.
So it makes you think like, what is the real like image versus the reality of their relationship?
Right.
It's like this whole hidden layer that we never get to see.
That's where it gets even more complex, though.
Because remember, neither Jay-Z nor Diddy has actually like confirmed or denied any of this this alleged rift. It's all from Tacopina's perspective.
Okay, so we're just speculating.
Yeah.
But even if there is this like tension, it's a pretty big deal that Tacopina felt so strongly about it.
Absolutely.
That he wouldn't take Diddy's case.
I mean, it really speaks volumes about how personal loyalties can play a huge role.
Totally.
Even in legal situations.
Yeah.
Especially in industry as tight-knit as music.
Yeah. Totally. It makes you wonder if Tacopina sees this rift as like this real problem, how would that affect other collaborations?
Oh, yes.
Or partnerships, in the industry?
Right.
Could this change things for other artists or even labels?
That's a great question. I mean, think about the impact that both Jay-Z and Diddy have.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, they've both built these empires. They've collaborated with so many artists. They've shaped the landscape of hip-hop.
Yeah.
If there really is tension between them, I mean, it could have ripple effects.
Throughout the whole industry.
It could change collaborations,
Right.
business ventures,
Right.
even the music itself.
It's true. I mean, we're talking about two of the most influential figures in hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you think, like, how much do we really know about what goes on behind the scenes?
Yeah, right. We see like the finished product, the music, the performances, but we don't really know the relationships.
Right. All the stuff behind it.
Totally. And speaking of things we don't know,
Yeah.
let's get back to Diddy's legal stuff.
Okay.
So we talked about the new indictment.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are the details of these accusations?
Well, the charges they're pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So the indictment alleges that Diddy forced employees of his company, Combs Enterprises, to work like insane hours with very little sleep.
Wow.
It describes a work environment where they were like constantly being threatened and pressured,
Oh,
not
no.
just physically, but also through financial threats and damage to their reputation.
It's terrible.
And on top of that, the indictment alleges that he forced at least one employee into having sex with him.
That's awful.
It paints a really disturbing picture
Yeah.
of someone abusing their power.
It makes you wonder, like, how someone in Diddy's position could create such a harmful environment.
Right. Well, and it's important to remember that these are accusations.
Right.
Diddy has maintained his innocence.
Of course.
His lawyer has issued a statement denying all the charges and stating that many former employees are ready to vouch for Diddy's character.
Okay.
But, the details laid out in the indictment are definitely troubling.
So we have these serious charges against Diddy.
Right.
His trial is set for May 5th.
That's right.
What happens now?
Well, as the trial date approaches, you can expect things to really heat up.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of legal maneuvering, evidence presented, witnesses called to testify.
Right.
The prosecution will try to prove the allegations, while the defense will try to cast doubt on their claims and, maintain Diddy's innocence.
Sounds like it's going to be a very intense legal battle.
Yeah.
And while this unfolds, we have the whole Jay-Z connection looming in the background.
Looming for sure.
It makes you wonder how this will all play out in the long run for Jay-Z.
Right.
Even for Takapina.
It's a situation with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
The outcome of the trial, the potential fallout between these hip-hop giants, the impact on Takapina's career.
Right.
It's all up in the air right now.
It feels like this is just the beginning of a much bigger story.
I think so, too.
I'm curious, what's grabbing your attention the most in all of this?
For me, it's the contrast between the public image we have of these figures in the music industry and the behind-the-scenes realities that are starting to surface.
Yeah.
We tend to see them as larger than life, but, they're still human with complex relationships and struggles.
Totally. And we don't get to see that, usually. Yeah, it really is a good reminder that there's always more to the story than what we see on the surface, especially when it comes to celebrities and fame.
For sure. For sure. And this is a story that a lot of people, are talking about and speculating about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What do you think is the most fascinating part of all this?
Honestly, for me, it's the ethical dilemma that Takapina was facing.
Yeah.
Like, he had this chance to take on this, like, huge, high-profile, probably very lucrative case. But he chose to prioritize his loyalty to Jay-Z and Rock Nation.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot about him and, like, his values.
Yeah, it really highlights, how personal relationships and professional decisions can sometimes, be at odds with each other.
Totally.
It's like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place,
Right, and his decision could have, like, ripple effects.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we talked about the potential rift between Jay-Z and Diddy impacting the whole industry.
Right.
But his choice could also influence how other lawyers, like, navigate these kinds of situations in the future.
It's true. It raises the question, could this set a precedent for how lawyers in the music industry handle cases where their personal loyalties might be at play?
That's a really interesting point. Like, will we see more lawyers turning down cases because of who they know in the industry?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on,
Yeah.
And as we wait to see how Diddy's trial unfolds, and this alleged rift between him and Jay-Z and just like the long-term consequences of Takapina's decision, there's one final thought that I think is worth, thinking about.
Okay, I'm listening.
So if Takapina's perception of this relationship between Jay-Z and Diddy is accurate,
Right.
and there really is a rift between them, what does that tell us about like the unspoken rules and the power dynamics that shape the music industry behind the scenes?
Oh,
Like what alliances are formed and broken,
yeah.
and how do these relationships really influence the music that we hear and the artists that we follow? I mean, that's something that I'm going to be thinking about a lot, as this story continues to develop.
Yeah, that's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we don't see, and how these dynamics that we don't know about can impact the music world so much. This deep dive has been really fascinating.
It
We talked
has.
about the legal battles and the personal relationships and the power plays behind the scenes.
Yeah, a lot going on.
And it's just a reminder that even in the world of music and entertainment, the stakes are really high, and loyalty and ethics and ambition are always a part of it.